Hello, fellow Nigerians. I have another urgent message, this time for all Labour Party polling unit agents for the March 18 gubernatorial or governorship elections, governorship and state houses of assembly elections. Now, the rigging that took place on February 25, 2023 for the presidential election took place systematically. We talked about the first stage being that voters had their polling units changed without being informed, and that disenfranchised millions of voters. The next stage being the fact that the INEC presiding officers for the polling units actually came with all sorts of lies, ranging from the beavers were programmed to stop working by 2 to excuses like they have run out of ballot papers, or that they have run out of ink, all kinds of excuses to disenfranchise those who were already in queue voting on that day. In fact, in many polling units, many voters were still in line, in queue by 2 p.m. when the polling unit officers decided that the beavers had stopped working and packed up their things and left. In fact, in many polling units, they just packed up their things. They didn't even bother counting or collating results. They just packed up and left. This is the second stage of the rigging process. Now, the third stage of the rigging process was at the collation centers. Now, we discovered that a lot of the Labour Party agents, and indeed agents for other political parties, apart from those who had been pre-informed, did not know exactly what powers they had or what they needed to do to stop rigging at the collation centers. Now, the polling unit is the center of the universe as far as the election is concerned, particularly when you bring into consideration the Electoral Act 2022. Beautiful piece of law, beautiful piece of legislation, but as with everything in Nigeria, it doesn't matter how good the law is, because of the Nigerian nature, we always find a way to make a mess of it. And this time, INEC themselves, in cahoots, in collaboration with APC, somehow found a way to make a mess of the 2022 Electoral Act. And the third way they did this is what all Labour Party polling unit agents must understand. This Saturday, the next election for governorship and state houses of assembly, you must understand it. If you're a polling unit agent out there or a collation center agent, you need to understand what powers you have, what rights you have, what responsibilities you have, so that you can stop whatever rigging has gone on. Now, for you to understand what the urgent message is on how to stop the rigging at the collation center, you need to understand and take your mind back to what happened at the collation center for the February 25th presidential election in Nigeria. What happened? We saw a situation whereby the polling unit results, the Form EC8 polling unit results, the one that was pasted on the polling unit where the agent of the political party signed and took pictures, that particular form was taken to the World Collation Center. And right there from the World Collation Center, the manipulation, the manhandling, the tipexing, the changing of results started happening. In fact, by powers that you have as a polling unit agent, things like what happened at President Muhammadu Buhari's polling unit, at Malami's polling unit, at Ojiuzo Kalu's polling unit, as a polling unit agent, following that result to the World Collation Center, you should have raised that matter at that point, and that matter should have been sufficient for the collation officer, the INEC collation officer, to cancel the result for such polling units. So if the polling unit agents knew what they were doing right at the collation center, the World Collation Center, results from the Buhari's polling units, where he actually displayed his ballot paper for the world to see, captured on national TV, several TV stations carried it, where he did that display, that is sufficient ground for the polling unit agent at the collation center, the World Collation Center now, to have results from that polling unit cancelled. Ditto Malami's polling unit. Ditto Orji Uzor Kalu's polling unit. In fact, any other person that publicly displayed their ballot paper should have had the results from their polling unit cancelled, because that's against the electoral law. That's against the electoral law. So going forward, in the gubernatorial election and state houses of assembly elections, polling unit agent, particularly Labour Party polling unit agent, this message is for you. If you notice any of these things going on at the polling unit, take note of it and take it to the collation center. At the collation center, raise it and have the collation officer, the INEC collation officer, cancel the result. The collation officers at the collation center, the ward collation center, they have the powers to cancel elections based on malpractice, based on violence. So if there is violence in your polling unit, if there's intimidation in your polling unit, get the evidence, either with your phone, take a picture or a video and present it to the collation officer, and make sure that they cancel the election result for that polling unit. If they don't, note it, register your complaint and take it up to the local government collation center. These are the places where such corrections can be made. It's not at the final collation center. For the states, that would be the state collation center. It is not at the state collation center, final collation center, that such complaints and irregularities will be reported. So as a polling unit agent, you have a responsibility to do this so that we can save our democracy from the hands of these vampires, from the hands of these slave masters that are so interested in keeping Nigerians poor, in keeping Nigeria underdeveloped, keeping unemployment rate high, ensuring that there is no naira for us to live our daily lives, ensuring that we can't even have access to our money. Where are the governors? The same governors that were very, very intentional, that went with speed to Supreme Court. Now Supreme Court has given the rule, because the presidential election has come and gone and they have been able to have their way. None of the governors are talking anymore. They're not talking anymore. In fact, right now in Kaduna State, the bandits and the killers are on rampage again. The people are suffering untold hardship. Have you seen El Rufai go to Supreme Court to call the President Buhari, to take action? No, he has not. That's just to show you that the APC and the PDP, for that matter, do not have the interest of Nigerians at heart, whether at the national level, whether at the state level. So we have a duty to make sure that we do our part. We cannot rely on INEC telling you that, oh, this time around things will be fine. They said that before for the presidential election and things were not fine. I predicted it before that INEC was going to do it. People didn't listen and INEC was able to do it, and so far they are getting away with it. Hopefully, Peter Obi will be able to reclaim his mandate in the court. Hopefully. But that is even also still dependent on the quality of evidence that polling unit agents for Labour Party and perhaps for other party, the evidence that polling unit agents are able to present. That is the evidence that will save the mandate for Peter Obi. And if we don't have that in sufficient numbers, because the report I have is that Labour Party only had about 47,000 polling unit agents as against 176,000 plus polling units that we have. So if there is insufficient evidence coming from the polling units, that might hinder the chances of Peter Obi reclaiming his mandate. So let's not repeat this mistake for the gubernatorial elections. Let's not repeat it. We have to finish the job. The presidential election is just one leg. The final leg is the state houses of assembly and governorship election. Please, Nigerians, I beg you, Please, I beg you, don't sit down at home. If you sit down at home, you are playing into the hands of these wicked people that are enjoying the sufferings of 200 million Nigerians. You'll be playing into the hands of these wicked Nigerians that are using the future of the Almajiri children, the future of our out of school children, to buy jeeps for themselves and fuel their cars. You'll be playing into their hands. Don't be discouraged. They want you to be discouraged. They want you to be intimidated. I beg you in the name of God, please, don't be intimidated. We can save Nigeria. We just need to think smart and act tactically and strategically. Let's come out and do it, not minding what happened before. Let's not allow the event of February 25 presidential election to make us discouraged and stop us from coming out. We can do two things by coming out to vote en masse in the in the March 18 gubernatorial election. We can do two things. We can prove how INEC rigged the election by showing the true number of voter turnout. Let our turnout for the March 18 gubernatorial election, let it be higher than the turnout for the February 25, so that we can show to the world that INEC engaged in systematic reduction of votes that APC benefited from. That will also go a long way to help Peter Obi's evidence in court to reclaim his mandate. And in so doing, we also save Nigeria, not for ourselves, but for our children and our children's children. This is a battle for the soul of Nigeria. You cannot afford to be an onlooker. You cannot afford to be a stander by. No, every onlooker, every bystander is a traitor. You are exhibiting that trait if you just stand by. We are not asking you to go kill yourself. No. When the election happens, if there is any violence in the polling unit, we have a strategy to tackle that without bloodshed, to expose that without bloodshed. I'll talk about that in another video. But for now, let's just know, for the polling unit agents, you have a responsibility to Nigeria. You have a responsibility to Labour Party. Please take this responsibility very seriously. You can save and stop INEC's rigging by just doing your job. Taking note of the violence that takes place at the polling unit. Make sure that you document take a picture of the result at the polling unit, and then follow these results to the World Collation Center and the local government collation center, and then finally to the state collation center. And then make sure that you report officially the irregularities that took place at the polling unit or violence that may have taken place at the polling unit. Report it to the World Collation Center, collation officer for INEC, and make sure that appropriate official action is taken. If not, follow it through. This way, we will curb and make sure that we stop INEC from colluding with the APC or PDP for that matter to rig the March 18 gubernatorial election. Please let us do it for the love of country, to stop this jackpot syndrome. Our people are jackpotting, and it's not like they are going to enjoy out there. They are going to suffer. The suffering, they are just comparing to the suffering they would have suffered in Nigeria, and they think it is better. We can save them all this trouble by doing what we should do as polling unit agents. Godspeed, victory ahead by the special grace of God. Don't forget to share this video so that more people will see it, so that all the polling unit agents will see it. If you know any polling unit agent, make sure they see this video by sharing it to them. Share it, share it. Let us take our country back.